think that Box would really appreciate that.
Or maybe he wouldn't. Maybe Box would think that it's gonna be one Box. R.I.P. Devin. What's up, Jay?
Boxer for J. Jones. Yep.
We're somewhere new. We are in a new place.
Are we?
We have a new environment.
No, we're same park. Look,
No.
Look.
Same location.
Look, you see the thing out there?
I see it.
Yeah, it's right there.
The ring that rules them all.
Yeah, it's America the Beautiful. This is where we are.
have a new environment.
I don't understand what. You mean because of the shirt? Because your shirt, you got a different shirt. It does look like you got a haircut.
I got a haircut. Speaking of
It
clothing,
did look like you got a haircut.
speaking of clothing, though, are we gonna dress like the all pink you got going on today?
What are you talking about?
The pink do-rag, pink shirt.
Pink is like my favorite color.
Is it?
It is.
Is it because of grandmother?
No, I just really enjoy the color pink.
Speaking of grandmother, I want to ask you: did you ever? You never asked you before. Were you upset that I stole your tattoo idea?
No,
Because I totally did.
that's okay.
Yeah, I got it before you.
That's okay. I don't know if I'm ever gonna get a tattoo.
Ever?
Ever.
Really?
Really.
Hey, what's up, guys?
I'm skin virgin for life.
This is. What's up, guys? This is Pot in the Park.
Hey.
We're back. You know, we got Juleinn up in here. We
Hey.
got me, Tito, X Dog. I'm trying out new names. That one didn't work.
Tito.
I'll put that on my negative list. We are in a new tent, new studio, and we are ready to have fun today. How you doing, Jay?
Well, living the dream, surviving the nightmare. Your shoes are both untied, I believe.
No.
They're both untied.
No. One of them's tied.
Kinda. Like,
It's hanging on for dear life.
it's not really like I just noticed that both your shoes were untied. Anyway, so I'm doing good. Living my dreams and surviving the nightmares. You know what I mean? Just dealing with all the things that come along, and it occurs more and more to me every day that well, first of all, that peace is a choice, and second of all, that how do you put it? Patience is like air. You ever heard somebody say, like, I don't have enough patience for this?
Yeah.
It's funny, right? Because it's like you could literally have or use as much patience as you want.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like taking another breath.
But patience can run out.
Not necessarily.
Oh, it can.
You can just take another breath.
I guess.
You can always just take another breath.
Yeah, it's easy from the outside, right? It's easy when you're
Mm-hmm.
not in a situation to look at it and go, oh, yeah, why don't you just not be mad?
Just take
Why
another
don't
breath.
you just not react to that? Which is awesome. It's easy. Like I said, it's very easy to say from standing on the outside. But when you're in a situation, it's a lot harder to just go.
Yeah, why not just not be mad?
Because we have emotions. We're humans. We have feelings.
But the thing is that you could take another breath and choose
Yes,
to
you can
use
always
more
take
patience.
another breath. But
Yes.
what I'm saying
Just
is,
like you can choose to use more
I don't know,
patience.
I think it's pretty irresponsible and almost a little ignorant, actually, to say that. I think it's actually a pretty ignorant thing to say.
Xzavior,
It's the exact same thing as been like, why don't you just not care about it? Like, well, because it affected me.
Xzavior, you can always choose to take
Yes,
another breath.
You can.
Just as the same way as you can choose to use more patience.
You can. Just like you always can choose to just not care about something or to not be upset about something.
That's not what I'm saying here.
I know, but I'm saying is that if your patience runs out in a situation, it's easy to look at that and go, oh, why don't you just have more patience?
Yeah.
Yeah, but, I mean, people sometimes react. People get upset,
absolutely.
and emotions, we're human beings.
Just like any other skill, it needs to be exercised and practiced. But
Sure.
the fact is that you, objectively speaking, just like air, you can just same thing with like love.
Well,
Love is not a finite resource.
Sure.
You can legitimately just give more, just have more.
Yeah,
There's always enough to go around.
sure. Again, though, I just think it's pretty easy from the outside of any situation to look at it and go, oh, well, just don't get upset. Just don't get mad. Just don't care about that.
So again,
Just have more patience.
you're making a false equivalence here, because I'm not saying just what I'm saying is that through practice you can strengthen it.
Yeah, that's
just like-
that's very true. You can
Just
strengthen
like
it, yeah.
just like holding your breath, just like right. But the fact is that you can choose to use more whenever you want, and to say that you don't have enough is just a lie that you are telling yourself.
What about children?
That's it.
Children don't have the mental capacity to put forth more patience in situations
Yes, they can.
just by sheer willpower.
Yes, they can.
They absolutely do not.
They have to be taught, but they can.
1 and 2 year olds just don't have. They physically, biologically, do not have the mental capacity to just
1 and
put
2 year olds. Yeah,
To
no.
just so
we're
where's
not
the
talking
limit?
about.
So
we're
then
not
where's the
talking
limit?
about a 1 and 2 year
So
old.
is 3 the limit?
No, we're
Is
talking
4 the
about,
limit?
No, but
Is 5 the limit?
well, I'd
Is
say
6?
I'd say
What is the limit?
okay. Instead of gish galloping, you could actually let me answer a question.
Yeah.
Okay, so
So if the limit is around, let's say 12, that's the age of understanding, yeah? Let's say someone hasn't developed that skill, right? Maybe someone has autism. So it's not just like air, like objectively speaking, anyone can just pull from thin air more patience. It's something
Yes,
that
you can.
it's something that isn't either acquired skill or some people just don't have the ability to. What about people with sociopathy who don't have the ability to engage in like social behaviors?
do you know what gish galloping is?
Sure.
What is it?
It's what horses do. They gallop and,
No.
they gish and gallop all over the place.
No. So what you're doing is shotgunning just a bunch of half-true, partly kind of facts.
Are any of my facts not true?
That's the point of what I just said.
You said half true.
Partly half-true, right?
So which part of those
So-
are not true?
Right, but that's the whole point of the tactic is that you're just shotgunning a whole bunch of them out there, and then now I have to go back and try to reply to each one, that's not how you win a debate, because all it makes you look like is you're just shotgunning a whole bunch of shit out there. So that's you haven't actually supported any actual facts.
Well, I haven't gotten to the finish of my point yet.
Yeah, but again, you're just shotgunning a whole bunch of points.
No, I'm putting a bunch of points out there so I can get to my point. So I can get to my
So the way that
conclusion.
you actually effectively would debate is to present an argument, and then let the other person actually then challenge that argument. That's not how a conversation
let's
or a
start
debate
there.
works.
What's the age?
So it depends on what we are actually discussing, or what the age of. So the age of understanding, the age of consent, the age of what?
The age that you think that it's plausible to say that anyone can pull out more patience. What is
I
it?
would say by the time you reach 18, you should be able to. I mean, that's when you're an adult.
So by
That's
18, you should be able to just pull out patience in any situation.
By the time that you're 18, you have the ability to do so, is what I said.
Okay, so I would counter that and
You
say
have, that means that you have the potential. Yes.
I'd counter that and say that not everyone does.
I disagree. Everyone does.
People with autism and sociopathy, psychopathy.
Those are outstanders.
Those are people.
Sure, but all generalizations are false, including this one.
My point is that
You don't make
there are-
generalizations based off of a minority.
My point is that there are other people who suffer from anxiety, which is a very real mental illness that almost, I would say, 60% of individuals that are adults right now suffer from in America. So there are plenty of reasons and things in people's lives, and
Anxiety is the opposite of patience.
I would agree with that. Yeah,
Yeah.
but that means that 60% of adults
By
that you're
merely
saying.
practicing patience, they can actually overcome anxiety. Yes, I believe so.
Sure, fair enough. All right, we'll let you guys decide in the comments, all right, about what you believe on patience. But let's go ahead and bring in our guest. As you guys know, we're getting ready for our back to school drive for our teachers. Jay, what's the name of that drive?
Oh, Campus Impact Drive.
Campus Impact Drive, baby.
Oh no, it's Campus Impact Project.
The Campus Impact Project Drive.
Yes.
The projected drive of campus impact, and we're doing it. Listen,
I'm driving to the campus
and
with
we're
and
driving,
projecting.
and I'm going to impact something.
I'm impacting something with a projector. With a projector.
With a projected plan.
Yeah, with a projected plan. There we go.
And so today we have another beautiful soul with us. Yeah, so we got Shannon with us today. Shannon is runs a business for tutoring, I believe, and used to also be a teacher.
Wonderful.
Shannon, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So, 15 years, and I started back in South Africa. I was studying my master's degree in economics, and I went to work for a big corporation and decided that working for the man was not for me. So I went back to the university, and that's where I started teaching. And I used to lecture economics and finance. And as I don't know if you guys know anything about South Africa, but like student riots and stuff, it got really dangerous.
Yeah, I'm familiar. Yeah, with the apartheid and all of the. Yeah, I would say that everything. South Africa. I would say, wasn't there a movie actually about this? Or at least there's like was the Mandela effect. That kind of is like surrounding this movie, if I'm not mistaken.
Talking about Nelson Mandela.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a movie about Nelson Mandela.
That's why it's called the Mandela effect.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But so I mean, the riots and stuff were getting really bad. And when I say they were bad, I mean the one day there was a bomb scare at the university, and they actually locked us in our offices as staff instead of letting us all leave the building. And they actually found a bomb. So 2 weeks later, I packed my bags and I got an opportunity to go to Korea. And that's
awesome.
really where like my teaching career began. So I spent 3 years teaching in Korea from a elementary level, middle school level, high school level. And then when I came over to America, I started working as a preschool teacher and as a tutor. But unfortunately, the kind of, if you guys know what teaching's like, teachers have a really hard time anywhere in the world, and which is why you guys are trying to do what you're doing.
Just turn the gain down for a second.
Turn gain down a little, please.
Turn gain down.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. This is so our podcast is called Pot in the Park.
Yeah.
Right. And this is our setup. And this is some of the stuff you deal with sometimes.
Babe.
That's cool.
There's just some of the stuff you deal with sometimes. I'm really excited to have you in here today because we have a very interesting perspective from you specifically. So we've been having teachers come in, and we're going to continue having teachers come in all the way through this drive.
Right.
But the issue with that is that a lot of them have to be very careful with what they say, with what they talk about, because they don't want to lose their jobs.
Right.
By calling out some of the issues that their districts or schools are giving them. But you don't have to worry about that really.
No, I don't.
So I can ask you straight up, what are the issues that you're referring to?
Okay, so I have a lot of tutors on my team, and all our tutors are actually teachers who work at schools.
Okay.
And obviously they couldn't come on something like this and speak about anything bad. In my experience, it does differ per schools. When I worked at a private school, we still had resourcing issues. Now you'd think a private school, you've got fees being paid, but at the same time, I was still buying my own staples. We would still run out of ink and have to go and purchase ink. Our books were about 30 years old and falling apart. And this is at a private Catholic school that I was working at. And I think that you can't complain about anything because even the funded schools are so under-resourced. And then you've got public schools who are obviously have it way worse than the private schools do. And they've got so many kids. You've got classrooms that are way too big. They're out of ratio. And now you've got to try, provide valuable education to these kids.
Exactly.
And with independent, and resources. You don't need, one of my things as a teacher is I believe you could teach anyway. You could sit outside, you don't need it, but it really does help.
I'm sure.
Especially when you've got a lot of kids to entertain, like having books for them to read, having different resources, having labs that are stocked to do science with them. It also makes you feel appreciated as a teacher because, our teachers, no one goes into teaching thinking like, oh, I'm going to go become rich becoming a teacher.
Yeah.
Everyone goes into teaching because they really want to make a difference in the world. They want to influence young minds and they want to, go out there and make a difference.
May I ask what's the biggest change you would make to the schooling system?
To the whole system itself? I would so the way that administration sets their budget, if they don't spend that budget every single year, they get a smaller budget the following year. And I think that pressure at the end of the year to, direct resources on things you don't need. What I would do is I would have teachers play a larger role in budgeting and resourcing, that they actually get the resources that they need, and the money goes to things that they actually need. That's
Absolutely. Really funny. That sounds exactly like what I actually mentioned last week.
MSN or MSA.
Yeah, it's kind of like an MSA account. Essentially, is what I had suggested. Is essentially it would be a stipend or a fund. So it would each quarter, each pay period, whatever, they would set aside a certain amount for you and say, okay, this is your budget, and for your classroom, for your for this period, make sure you have all the supplies you need. If you come in under budget, great, you get to keep X percentage of whatever you manage to save, and then the district would take whatever else was left over, and they would just be able to keep that for next year, for a rainy day fund, for students who might need a tuition help, assistance or whatever else, things like that, right? And I think that would make a lot better sense for and I kind of like the way you're talking about is just I think it's the way that we're distributing it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And another thing is, I don't know if you guys know, a lot of teachers at the beginning of the year will set up an Amazon wish list, and their friends and families and people in the community are then fulfilling those classroom wish lists through Amazon. Now, surely those are the fun things that bring their classroom to life. That's the stuff that should be funded. That's the resources that they should be getting.
That should be what your taxes are paying for.
But, and I mean, a lot of the schools are underfunded, okay? I come from a private school background. I taught in Korea where resources were, country difference. Resources in Korea are phenomenal for classrooms. Really? I taught at a school in Seoul, and I taught out in the country where no one speaks English, even there, but especially in the big city in Seoul. One of the biggest things was I wanted my kids I taught English, so I wanted my kids to actually direct their own movies, and that was their semester project.
That's cool.
It was a middle school project, and do you know they went and bought filming equipment for all the students? They each had their own cameras. They had editing software that they bought for my classrooms.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just phenomenal. They bought high-tech equipment, and
you're not going to see that here.
And then they brought people in to show them how to use it, and it became this whole big project for the school.
That was the other thing that I had thought about while you were what you were mentioning too, is that the way that our schooling is done here too is very it's rote memorization. So it's not about authentic or
skill
actual
building.
Learning, or skill building is a whole nother thing like that. They've taken all of the skill building out when they got rid of home ec and auto shop, and they took all the skill building out, right? But even aside from that, they, like I said, it's rote memorization. If you just memorizing facts and dates, as opposed to actually understanding I can tell you, I know a lot of people, 1776, they don't know what that date actually means. They don't understand what the Declaration of Independence actually says. They might even be able to we hold these truths to be self-evident, but they don't understand the meaning behind the words because they were never actually taught. They were just, all they did was memorized enough to pass a test and get out.
Yeah, I agree.
So they made them. It makes us like factory workers.
I agree. Shannon, I wanted to touch on something you said too. You said that you wish that teachers had more involvement in the budgeting and the finance process of all, and the resource allocation process. I didn't realize that wasn't going on already. I figured that teachers.
Well, that was just my experience in the schools that I've worked at. And the schools, obviously they would come around and during book day, they would say, hey, write down 3 books that you might want for your classroom. And then they would ask the parents to purchase those books. Or they would say, hey, we're going shopping today. What do you guys need for your classroom? But it would be sundry items. I need snacks because, we're running out of snacks and the kids need a snack at snack time. But in terms of big things like ink is a big one. Teachers use a lot of ink, and when their like supply of ink that they've been given is gone, what do? I know what I did. I went home and I had my own laminator at home. I had my own photocopier at home, my own ink, and I had 46 students. That was actually last year. 46 students, and I would make 46 photocopies of every worksheet that they were going to do, or every craft activity, which sometimes took 5 pieces of paper and a bunch of ink per student. It's a lot of stuff.
That sounds intense, and the fact that it really comes out of all of you guys' own pockets, it really crushes me.
And their own time, because a lot of this resource creation for the classrooms, like I know, like I said, you don't need a lot of resources to teach. You can teach in lots of different meaningful ways. But when you have a lot of kids and you've got stuff to do with them, it really does help.
Your job is to motivate children.
Right. And excite them about learning.
To learn, yeah. So, I mean, resources kind of help.
But like what you were saying, it's not the teacher's fault about this rote memorization. You've got, I mean, if you think about it, one of the biggest years...
You have a curriculum. Like, that's
and third grade is the worst. Because third grade is the first time they introduce standardized testing. So through kindergarten, through grade 1, through grade 2, if you're at like a public school system, they're just kind of, introducing the kids, they're being all sweet and nice. Third grade, standardized testing, now suddenly these kids, they let go of the hand, they take the spoon out of the mouth, and they're like, you've got to read 60 words, this many words per minute. And now these kids who might be able to read, maybe they don't read as fast as they're supposed to, have to pass these standardized tests.
Right.
And if they don't, the teacher's in trouble. So the way the whole thing is, and resources, the whole system, standardized testing, it's forced those teachers to be like, okay guys, we got to memorize this because my job's on the line.
My job's on the line, yeah.
It's just like Einstein said, if you judge a fish its entire life by its ability to climb a tree, it'll spend its whole life thinking it's dumb. So it's up to us really as adults, as how do you put it? As individuals, to recognize that we are responsible for shaping society and shaping our world. And we don't have to do it in just the way that we've been shown this was the way. We can actually try to reshape it, remap it based on what we are realizing works, what doesn't, and to your point earlier, we do have a lot of people who are dealing with anxiety and depression, and more of that actually has to do with the way that our school system is set up.
I would 100% agree with that. I would say that, and this is again no slight on teachers in general. I think it's a systemic issue, but I think that kids are getting predisposed to, first of all, far too much.
Far too much.
Second of all, too much pressure to have as a third, second grader, fourth grader even. And all that's going to do is cause adults with anxiety, adults who crack under pressure. I don't know.
And you know what would combat and fix a lot of that?
What's that?
Everybody just having a little bit more patience.
Yeah. Possibly. I think, like I said, I think it's systemic. If you're saying that it's coming from like a school district board, like what do you think?
Well, I think it's just that it's been done for so long, and you've got people who are coming in and they're making decisions having never actually worked in a classroom before. So, they make budgeting decisions from a district level, but they're not teachers. And
also, they nor their kids are even in these schools, so they're not affected by it anyway.
In private schools. I would say this. I mean, I would love to ask, like, what would you do different? How would you redesign school? But you did. You have your own business. Tell me about your tutoring business.
Okay, so the tutor team we provide access to affordable and high quality tutoring to kids in underserviced areas. Ooh. So what we feel is like there's kind of like been a lot of gatekeeping towards tutoring. You find that people who have a lot of money are the ones that can afford tutoring, and they're the ones who get tutoring, especially at like high school level, ACT, SAT levels, and they're the ones who are now going to go get into the best colleges and get the best scholarships. And it's just this perpetual problem of, and it's just the educational inequalities and the access to educational opportunities in many of the communities throughout the country is huge.
Yeah.
And this is not even just an American problem. This is a worldwide problem.
I agree.
Absolutely.
I mean,
History has shown us that as you increase education, you increase prosperity and you increase potential for people to grow and to
absolutely
build.
And, you know, this was a passion project for us because, back when I did my master's in economics, my entire dissertation was on using like Oaxaca blinder techniques to discuss the inequalities in society and how they come about from inequalities in education.
I'm glad you're here actually today too, because it's funny because I think I may have told you last week that I do want to find someone who we can talk more economics with.
Specifically mentioned you wanted to speak
I want
to
to talk
somebody who
more
understands
economics, yeah, because I'm curious about like what do you think about like the fiat currency system and it will try to keep it a little more sub-level and to try to for everyone else for that matter, if you know what I mean. But what do you think about the fiat currency system? Do you think that it's sustainable, and do you think that do you think it's sustainable?
I think that it depends on what is happening in the world right now. Because like in America, any currency system and what it's based on, is it based on a house of cards? Is it going to fall?
Yeah.
Right.
Who's purchasing those currencies? What's backing those currencies? Mm-hmm. And is there enough investment from everybody else? Because base level stuff. If you want something to have value, you need people to believe and have it as value.
Absolutely.
And so whether or not it's a good thing will entirely depend on how much society kind of bends their view to believing in that this is the way to go. And so it really just depends on like consumer perceptions at this point.
So I think it's interesting because at the very least the fiat currency system does eliminate the idea of a zero-sum game, right? So it definitely has its pros in that sense, but I think I heard it put best when it kind of tying this back into like into the broader economic system is that capitalism anybody can be rich, but in order for it's like a pyramid, you know what I mean? In order for there to be people on the top, there have to be so many on the bottom, and then
and that's the only way it really works.
But
for capitalism,
yes,
at least, yeah.
Yes. And then I was gonna say, but then for like communism, the idea is that nobody can be rich, but nobody should be poor, which is cool. But that means that you have to rely on a strong, one man to like hold it together.
System.
You know what I mean? But then socialism, and I thought that this was poetic. I loved it. Is that anybody can be rich again, kind of like but nobody should be destitute. Nobody should just be completely without. There should be a net at the bottom,
level, yeah.
A net, or even I would even describe it even less as a net, as more of a trampoline that as you fall, it and springboards you back. You know what I mean? So you can actually get back to some level of or some kind of close to where you started from.
Well, I think, okay, I'm 100% for capitalism.
Okay.
But my problem with socialism and the system itself is that yes, there's a net for everybody, but what happens when there's no accountability? So capitalism with a caveat that you still have a strong social system, and by social system I mean like sending money into places to help bring those people up. Mm-hmm. So you don't, and at the base of it all is the thing that we started talking about, and it starts with education.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because people don't get to where they are without being given a strong, and it's not just having an education, it's having that absolute, learning at school, to have confidence in yourself, to believe in yourself, to have a motivation to learn, to have being
development.
Kids are taught
education
confidence.
And development,
and kids are taught, and like you said, where did the trades go? Mm-hmm. There's absolutely nothing wrong with doing trades at school. Mm-hmm. Like teaching kids from a very young level, and I mean it could be anything. It could
even
be
just how to do their taxes,
100%.
like
teaching taxes, right?
like basic
regular
basic
life
skills. I'm
things,
32 years
adult-
old and I'm only just now barely like I'm asking my coworkers like, okay, like how do the state taxes and the like work versus the federal taxes, like I don't like it's ridiculous. We
100%
should have learned this.
I laugh because I came from South Africa, and when I was studying for my citizenship, like I'd been doing our taxes for the last 8 years, and like I said to one of my friends, I was like, oh yeah, so like I was writing this off, and like, how did you? And she was like,
What are you talking
what are
about?
you talking about? Like,
What are you
what are you
talking
doing? And I was like, well, no, they just pay a HR block to do their taxes. And I was like, so you don't know what they're doing and how much
No.
money you're getting back?
No,
And we're going,
no clue.
or like when I was studying about like the Constitution and stuff, and I asked my husband about, I don't know, I heard something, and he was just like, the who now?
Yeah. Yeah.
The what now? So, and I think
That's
I
really
was
funny.
actually, and it was super funny, as a South African who just learned American history. I had to teach a history class on the Gettysburg Address.
Oh, wow.
And about Lincoln, and it was just I was talking to these kids more about like trying to bring it down to the, because have you guys ever tried to make history interesting for like a middle grader?
I love history.
You love it? Well, I
love
mean,
history too.
kids don't always love
My
history.
kids do not like it. I
My-
tried.
No.
So my daughter didn't, and actually she struggled with history for it not badly. She had like a B, but like out of all of her
Yeah.
other classes, it was her lowest. So I asked her about it one day, and she's like, "Well, I don't understand the relevance. I don't understand like why we're talking about somebody that lived all this time ago." And I'm like, okay, so I brought up like things like the Holocaust, things like I'm like, so if
Heavy topic.
I'm like but I brought some heavy
Heavy
things
stuff.
up. I'm like,
Heavy
hey,
stuff.
I'm like, but if we never knew about these things, what would keep us from doing it again?
Absolutely, but and I was teaching this to a predominantly African American class, and I was like, guys, this is so important. I was like, I come from a country. It was still apartheid when I was at school.
South Africa still has apartheid.
Do you know what I mean? It was a big deal. It was something
Yeah.
that was a big part of our lives when I was growing up. But like, and I was like, but bringing it down and having that passion, and the teachers aren't the ones that have lost the passion. They're just. They're tired.
I
They
think it's
work
easy to
really
burn out.
hard.
It's easy to
It
burn out.
is. And listen, evidence of the fact that these teachers are burning out is that like I have so many applications of teachers who are trying to come into
bless.
tutoring so that they can get a second income. Teachers should not be doing a second job.
No, I agree.
They are professionals. They have educational degrees. They are dealing with our most precious possessions.
100%.
I agree.
There's this really funny sketch from Key and Peele. You know anything about like Key and Peele sketch comedy?
Yeah.
They did this sketch, and it was like it's like the NBA draft, but for teachers. And the idea was like, what if we treated teachers like
Like the
NBA
NBA
players?
stars?
And it was
Like,
like,
that
oh,
would
this
be
year
awesome.
we're gonna get Shannon in here.
That would be awesome,
She's
bro.
our first round pick.
Right? and the teachers, I mean, they're passionate. I mean, I see it every single day. I actually have on our team, we have like one of the old list. Is that the train again?
Yes, it is.
It's a plane, I think.
What?
It's another train.
I think we
He's
could.
gonna loop.
I think we could actually even. What would you guys think about if we started like a national teacher award, like
There's
where?
gotta be something like that.
Well, I mean, no, but like I'm talking about like the Grammys, bro.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
talking about like
100%.
I'm talking about like Golden Globe Award
yeah.
status, like.
Like, make a
where
big
you're
deal.
where your finest, you know what I mean?
Wouldn't
Like,
that
and
lead
and
to
I hope you
appreciation?
wish you the best of luck.
Well, teachers want to be appreciated, but they also need to be appreciated by
Income.
income is a big deal. And I mean,
Financial appreciation is a huge deal.
it's a
Why wouldn't
huge
it be?
deal. And also and I mean, remember, they're not just dealing with trying to educate your kids. They're also dealing with trying to be very sensitive about the way that they are in the classroom. And I agree 100%
Not
that
just the
that needs
kids.
to
You're
be done.
dealing with the parents.
With the parents.
Yeah.
And, I'm a very straight person. And a lot of people just brush it off as, oh, she's South African, so she's very straight, so we won't get offended. So I've gotten away with saying a lot to parents that I probably shouldn't have said.
Okay, fair enough.
And they're like, oh, like they think South Africans are like Germans, like very straight and very strict, but I'm not.
Thank God. Hey, put the pitchforks and things in the back. We're good.
But yeah, so I think like we're tiptoeing around a system where we're dealing with a lot of political ideas,
Yeah.
a lot of bigotry, and which side we prescribe to, which is a huge issue. And at the end of the day, we should be focused on the learning.
Yeah.
We should be focused
Yeah.
on how can we get these kids excited about the subjects? How can we get a kid? I mean, I love algebra. I mean, I was a statistician, so like I love algebra and calculus. And so when I'm teaching kids, like I'm trying to get them excited about these equations and about, how cool is multiplication and all the fun tricks you can do with it, and like making it exciting for them. And like even when I was teaching history the other day, like getting down and like throw those books aside, throw those pens aside. We're not going to do writing today. We're going to talk about this as if it's a story, and we're going to discuss it, and I want to hear your opinions. And what would you do if you were in that situation? Lincoln had, like, his son had died from being really, really sick, and now his other son was sick, and he has to get up, and his wife's so upset because he's got to go address these few remarks, and he's got to go and address these people. But at the same time, he knows the loss that those moms are feeling of the loss of their sons. He knows what those wives are feeling about the loss of their husbands. So when he's going there, he knows, and he'd been practicing that speech for ages, and he just knew it was the time. And like getting the kids to really feel it and get excited about it, and teachers want to do that. My teachers that I speak to,
you made me feel it, I'll tell you that. Goosey's got goosies.
Right, but the kids love it. They actually engage with the subject, and then getting them to do a project and saying like, okay, let's actually get hands down and hands on. Now try do this in a classroom of 30 kids in a limited time with all your syllabus times to thing, with very minimal resources or whatever resources they've assigned to you, and you have to finish so many things in the textbook in a certain amount of time. Like,
I would think for
it's
that
rough.
reason middle school would even be harder, because you have, first of all, that very limited time, and then you gotta restart for another group of kids. Now, I don't teach, but I do a podcast, and I'll tell you what, there's been plenty of times where we start filming and we get going and we kind of get like a really good vibe going, and something messes up. And then you gotta start over, and the vibe's gone, man. Like it's really hard to re-get that going. So I couldn't imagine that 6 times a day and having to, all right, guys, and the next group, all right, guys. Like, do you practice different voices? Like, what do you do?
But I mean, I'll tell you something. Like, you have to have a lot of energy.
Yeah.
And as teachers age, obviously our energy goes. And then you got to think these teachers are moms. So at the same time, like, I remember getting home 5-6 o'clock. I'm sitting cutting out shapes for my class the next day, and then still having to have enough energy for my kids. And I mean, I love it. I love the kids. I left the classroom teaching, and we started our business so that we could help, and a lot of our kids, and this is another, a lot of parents have pulled their kids out of the system and they're doing homeschooling.
Good.
So we have a lot of homeschoolers that come to us. We have a lot of teachers who work for us, so they're getting experience, real teachers who work for us. But like, the homeschoolers that come to us, they are thriving. And people
That's
used
awesome.
to think homeschoolers were weird.
Yeah.
And I mean,
They are weird, but
in a good way.
Yeah.
If you think they're weird, have you met their moms?
That's so fair. That is so fair.
I think because with homeschooling, it has to be more natural. It has to be more authentic, because I'm not if I got my daughter, like, I'm not a teacher.
No.
Well, I am, but I'm not like a license. I didn't go to school and get all of the. So all I know is how to just teach you naturally what I how to show it to you.
Have you guys heard of something called unschooling?
No, what is that?
Unschooling is this new movement where you don't follow
Deprogram.
and
Deprogramming.
you
That makes a lot of sense.
deprogramming the kids, and you're teaching them like what naturally comes along. Now, okay. My daughter goes to private school at the moment. She's going to a charter school. She's going to be bombarded in kindergarten with all the things that we said were problems with the system. But at the same time, like, she was super interested in spiders for some reason. We saw a spider at home. So that led into us reading Charlotte's Web. And then we read Charlotte's Web, and it's like, oh, now
she's
she loves
interested
all
in
the farm
pigs.
animals.
Yep.
So I've got her going this summer to a week where she's going to go stay on a farm for a week and raise
That is
goats
so
and
cool,
chickens
dude.
That's what
and
I'm
learn
talking
about that.
Yes.
And then she was also super interested in robots at one point. So I said to her, okay, well, we're going to do a robotics project
Yep.
She's 5 years old, and we're going to build
Yes.
a robot this summer.
That's what I'm talking about. See,
But like, not all parents have the capacity or the ability to help them.
And also
The patience.
Here's my question: does that, as cool and awesome as that is that a solid full substitute for formal education? Do you think?
I think so.
I think that, in my personal opinion, as a teacher,
Yeah.
I would never want to teach my child how to read and have that pressure of her entire future hinging on myself. She is going to school to learn to read and write, it's always different because your kids are never going to listen to you the same they're going to listen to teacher, no matter
That's
how
true.
good of a teacher you are.
That's true.
You can try to teach your kids all you want, and you're like, why aren't they getting? And then they go to a teacher, and you're like, but what did we do differently?
I just told you that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But it is and I feel like the that comes from in the past. We used to have a lot larger communities. You know, people weren't automatically made to live in isolation like we do today. We had large villages, we had aunties and uncles, and everybody helping with the kids and teaching them in different ways. They had their school teachers, and it was wonderful. But unfortunately, like these days, that's not always feasible.
But isn't it
And
weirder?
that also makes sense why literacy rates were so much lower, for so
Sure.
long, for
Sure.
so much longer in history as well. So yes, while literacy rates have risen drastically in
They can read.
in current
They can read.
society, I mean, but now we have people with so much more health problems, anxiety, depression, and wanting to, and I mean, God forbid, shooting up schools and whatever else. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
right.
Like,
I was gonna say too, isn't it weird? Like you just mentioned, like we used to live in these smaller villages, and now it's a lot more like secular. Everyone's kind of themselves, but it's so much bigger. There's more people and there's more things, and we're like more to ourselves now, which is so
And
odd to me.
Never more connected, but
Nobody
also
wants to be connected anymore.
precisely.
You know, like the idea, especially like as you get into when you become a middle-aged parent and stuff, and the idea of having to like
Go
out into the
outside.
community
Go outside.
and talk to
Oh
people.
my God!
Ew,
Sounds
ghetto.
awful.
So ghetto.
Can't we just do that from home?
Right,
Just bring me a
right.
VR. You know what I mean? Like,
I love it, Shannon. I really, really appreciate your perspective. Would you say that being able to live in South Africa, South Korea, and teach and get into those communities and those cultures has given you so much more perspective?
Well, it certainly makes me appreciate where I'm at.
Really?
You know, when I was teaching in South Africa, I used to we came across a lot of like really hard truths about what the world's really like,
Okay.
which people in first world countries might not ever understand. So I mean, yes, it's not perfect, and we have there are systematic flaws, but it could be a lot worse.
sure.
And Korea being a really amazing education system. Those poor kids are arriving at school. They go to music lessons or whatever their special lessons are at 6 o'clock in the morning before some of the teachers even arrive. They're then at school all day, and then after school they go to Hagwons and they start studying. They get home at 8, 9 o'clock at night, and I'm talking about like grade ones.
Jeez.
They are pushing those kids, and the kids are really smart and the kids are great. But, and this is in Korea, Japan, Asia in general, there's a lot of suicide rates
Yep.
in high school.
Yeah, very high.
Yeah.
And that's because, like, if you don't perform at a middle school level, you won't get into a good high school. And if you
Yeah.
can't get into those good high schools, you won't get into the college
Good
you want.
university.
And
yeah.
then you land up, and then it's almost like you're disgraced.
Yeah.
And it's not like, you know, if you land up working on a farm, and it's like, it's, so, and while their education system's highly resourced and amazing, and the kids are so smart and so bright and so sweet, and I love them so much, again, where's the
There's
happiness?
so much pressure.
And the social, like,
Can
they now go and work, and they like working, and it's just like it keeps happening to the next generation and the next generation.
Can I ask? Because there's a short story we talk about fairly often on our channel here. It's called "The Ones Who Walk Away from Omilas." There's also another short story that was written in response to it called "The Ones Who Stay and Fight." Have you ever heard of either of these
No.
before?
Very good stories.
Great stories.
Yeah.
The point is the author paints this utopia, okay, and says, imagine this utopian society, okay, and asks even like, is it too perfect? Is it too? Okay, let me give you one more thing, okay. She says, then imagine that there's this child, this little thing, at the age of understanding, 12, 13, whatever you consider the age of understanding. Every person, every citizen is brought to see this individual and to realize and understand that it's because of the suffering and the mistreatment of this one individual that Omilas can exist. That's why Omilas exists. And most of them, everybody goes off with their lives and continues and just exists. You know what I mean? They forget. Then there's some though that can't, and they go off and they decide to leave, and nobody knows where they go or why, right? But then there's another short story called "The Ones Who Stay and Fight," written as a response, like I said, and it kind of references Omilas, and I always imagine it's these people who left, but the idea is that they decided that they couldn't abide the suffering of innocence any longer, and they decided that wherever they saw it, they were going to root it out. They were going to stop it, right? I bring this up because you were saying, like, yes, you know, while it's not perfect here, it could be much worse, right? Do you feel that you fall more into camp 1, or do you feel that you'd be one to stay and fight? That you?
Oh, I would stay and fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Root it out wherever possible.
I think, and I mean, whatever you do, you've got to start planting seeds where you're at.
100%.
And it doesn't matter. I mean, you know, being part of a military family, we move around a lot, and that's not going to stop me from, you know, oh, I'm only going to be here for 3 years. Like, I'm going to get into this community. If I see a problem in front of me, I'm going to try fix it where I'm at.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to try go change the whole world. I'm going to change what I can in front of me, and start with, I mean, even the smallest thing. And when it comes to education and when it comes to children, you don't know if that one little change. I'll tell you a fun story. I used to teach a course. It was like a bridging cap in South Africa, and I lectured kids in academic literacy. So they wouldn't have had any high school or anything, and their reading was kind of low, but we wanted to get them to a level where they could do their first year of business studies.
Sure.
So I would do a year of a bridging gap where we'd help them with math and reading literacy. And I had this one kid, and he was, I mean, I remember having to go out into the township. That's like their rural area, and there was like a lot of drugs and gangs, and he had like a big they melted a tire and made a tattoo out of it, and I mean, like, really bad situation. This guy didn't show up to class, so me and some of the bigger men that I knew went out there. We dragged him back, we brought him back to campus, we helped him. Anyway, didn't think anything of it. And then I went off to Korea, and I came back, and it was about 4 years later, and I was asked to come back for the graduation ceremony, and I went there, and who was there standing as like valedictorian of his class with an honors degree in economics, which he chose. And in his speech he was like, they wanted me to be there because he wanted to just say thank you and everything. And he landed up actually founding one of these like very large companies in South Africa, and has now just like changed his whole life from growing up as like an orphan where his parents died of AIDS, and he didn't go to high school because he was looking after his brothers and sisters in the township and trying to work landscaping in people's gardens, to then getting involved in gangs and crime and stuff, and then going to campus. Just that bridging gap. And I didn't think anything of it at the time. It didn't take much, heart. I had 250 kids.
Yeah.
But knowing that I put in the time to just go take him that one time and say, hey, come on, let's go back to campus.
Yeah. Changed
his entire life.
That's beautiful. I think that beautiful stories like that you really only can hear from teachers.
Right? And I mean, you don't know that, like, that kid in your classroom that was having a hard time at home, and you just showed them a little bit of love. You don't know what major impact that's going to have on them in the future. Our teachers are basically, and they see our kids so many hours during the week. Like, they are loving on our kids. They are trying we're hopefully that they're loving on our kids and trying their best. And they do. Appropriately.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but you know, they pour so much in passion into trying to make these kids excited about school, and well, I hope they do. And the teachers that I know, I personally have met very few teachers who are just there for the paycheck.
Yeah, I agree.
I haven't met any, actually.
I mean, if you are, you might be in the wrong profession.
I mean, I've met disenchanted teachers who are great teachers and passionate teachers, but they just feel like they just don't have the support to get where they need to do. So they're just like feeling a little bit like they're just going to go around the motions. And I've met some really mean teachers who think that they're really passionate and trying to change the life.
Yeah, fair enough.
But their heart's still in it.
I hate to cut you off, Shannon, but hey, that's what we're doing this summer. This summer,
Right.
the entire summer, we are trying to offer as much resources as we can just through this summer. But
Classroom Impact Project.
that was really good. That was like do it again? That was like a movie intro.
Do what again?
One man, one teacher.
Classroom Impact Project.
So this summer and hopefully in the future we can start to cause real systemic change. Shannon, we want to thank you so much for your time. And Jay, if you want to ask our final question.
We ask all of our guests this actually at the end of our interviews. If you had a mic, and you can say anything to the whole world. What would you like everyone to know?
What I want everyone to know is that I would like everyone to just take a minute and think about what the teachers have done in their own lives, and as there being that one teacher that's actually made a difference, and then think about all the teachers and how much your most precious possessions are being given for hours at a time to these people, and what you can do to just support them, to build them up, and to get them excited, because that's where change and changing society begins.
That's absolutely lovely, Shannon. Shannon, would you go ahead and give a quick shout out for your business? Let us know where to go.
Yeah, so the Tutor Team, you can go to www.thetutorteam.online. We are nationwide, and we offer tutoring in most subjects, predominantly ELA and mathematics, from K through to 12.
Awesome.
And we also do test prep for SAT, ACT, and some college courses if anybody needs us.
TheTutorTeam.com.
.online.
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 .online. All right. Yeah, so let's go ahead and get this out of here. We're going to call it a day. And you know what? When united...
Classroom Impact Project.
We are us.
なんのこれ好き